Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Metal video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the performance of the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku Angel and just how good he is going to be in the Omega Shenron event. Now this is the Birth of the Shadow Dragons Omega Shenron event, and basically, to be honest with you, Goku looks pretty decent. Obviously there's a couple things about Goku that do make him a little bit of a concern for longer events, but I think this length of event is just about on the edge of where he's at his peak. Not that he's bad in longer events, just this is about where he is at his peak. Obviously a big concern for Goku is once that damage reduction drops, then Omega Shenron's dropping a couple AoE attacks. That could give him some concerns. But we'll talk about that. Let's just go through Goku. So obviously, for those who don't know, Goku is one of the latest units that's come out. Majin Buu Saga, Otherworld Warriors, Accelerated Battles Lead, and a Kamehameha Time Limit additional 30%. He's on a decent chunk of teens, and he also greatly raises attack and defense in one turn, whilst having a high chance of stunning. So far, everything's pretty sound and solid. His passive is where things get very interesting. He has a crit hit chance of plus 50% for 5 turns from entry, and he reduces damage received by 90%, scaling down by minus 15% when there's another Majin Buu Saga category ally on the team upon entry. So basically, to cut a long story short, he's pretty solid defensively because he has such a high level of damage reduction, 90%, and then slowly scaling down, not too quickly, but remember it's every turn, so it's not so the first turn you have minus 90, then the second turn he's out, he's going to have minus 60%, right? Key plus 2, attack and defense of plus 150%, an additional 150% when performing a super attack. Increases his damage reduction received by 5% with each super attack performed up to 30%. So a great example of this is Goku can fire up quite a few additional super attacks. He's got a baseline medium chance of critting, and he launches an additional attack. There's a great chance of becoming a super attack, right? So basically, before we talk about everything else, Goku can kind of replace the damage reduction he loses for the first couple turns. So for example, Goku, instead of being at 60% damage reduction, will more than likely be at 75% damage reduction, and then he'll also gain more damage reduction when he fires his supers, which means for the second turn, instead of being at 60%, he's more than likely going to be at 85 or even 90% again. The same is true for his final turn. Goku will have a baseline 30%, but then he'll have, obviously built up his damage reduction again to 30%, so he should have 60% damage reduction. So he's not totally without high levels of damage reduction for those turns. Next, if we talk about, obviously, when there's another Majin Buu Saga category ally attacking in the same turn, he obviously has that additional defense of 100%, he guards all attacks, and he'll have an additional attack of 100% and launch an additional super attack as the second or third attacker in the turn. All pretty good stuff. He also has a high chance of nullifying Ki Blast based supers and countering. All in all, Goku's kit is very good. The only situations where Goku's really caught out is if his damage reduction is pretty much expired and you don't have a Majin Buu Saga ally, which I am going to show you, but I'm only showing you to show that Goku still isn't even bad in that situation, if that makes sense. So yeah, he'll take damage, but after super he'll still actually be pretty solid. So that's just one of those things. When you're using Goku, make sure you have a Majin Buu Saga category ally in the turn, and chances are Goku's going to be more than fine. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the only thing that's holding back Goku is obviously his loss of damage reduction, but even the 30% he has is pretty solid for the most part. The guarding all attacks is a nice touch, but I wouldn't ideally have him as the first attacker if there is a ton of attacks coming his way before he supers. See, because once he does super, he gets that 150% raise. He also gets those greatly raising stacks that he gets on his super attack, which makes him very good. In terms of active skill also, I highly suggest you save the active skills for the int phase, Goku has no problems during the tech and strength phases, but because his damage reduction kind of wears out a little bit, by using the active skills during the Int Omega Shenron phase, you actually give Goku that boost to his overall defense, because obviously now it triggers his 150% raise, which makes it so that he's far more capable of tanking. You can see here with the guard active, single digits, no problem, easy peasy, and he'll tank supers more than fine after super as well. So saving the active skill for the finals phase, although always usually kind of suggested, specifically also boosts Goku's defense to being at a very solid level, because he's still going to then get further raises with his super attacks, just becomes a lot better basically. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Goku's leader skill is also relatively solid. You can run Majin Buu Saga, obviously tons of buffs for that category. Otherworld Warriors is still in a bit of a strange place, but Accelerated Battle also has some pretty decent options. Overall, to cut a long story short, Majin Buu Saga is his go-to category. You need a Majin Buu Saga category ally anyway to really make Goku the best he can be. And yeah, like I said, for the most part, it's all pretty good performance by him. I think overall, Goku does a great job. I think he's a fantastic unit, and I had a great time using him. He's really solid for Omega Shenron, as he is for a lot of hardcore content, but he specifically, I think, shines quite nicely in this one. Lots of really cool, interesting pairing partners for him, lots of situations where he does really well, and I think his damage reduction and the length of time and the build-up of the enemy is just about at the point where he basically dominates the whole way through. I don't think there's a situation unless it's like a turn like this where you're specifically trying to make him, you know, not as good, and even then he can take single digits. So it just shows you how strong he can actually be. But yeah, that's basically it for me. Bye.